Hi everybody, thanks for staying with us after the break. My name is Vera. I'm Clara. And we are here to walk you through the results of the research phase of the Fotel project. So, the aim of this research was to discover what are the reasons of early school leaving, and that's what we're going to look at together. Very quickly, I'm going to walk you through the methodology that we used. Okay. This was a methodology which was an applied method, which involved directly the protagonists, that is, the students, the teachers, and the parents. And it is a methodology that is originally developed by a French social psychologist called Marguerite Cohen-Emerick. And she proposed this method as a very practical field method to uncover culture shocks and the reasons of culture shock experiences. So this method is centered on very concrete experiences which are perceived as shocking, disturbing, which are accompanied by an emotional charge, feelings of anxiety or feelings of doubts, uncertainty. And usually this method, again, is used in the context of multiculturality or interculturality, where we explore what is happening in culture shocks. What are the two sides of the coin? And this is, in fact, the most important part of the method, that instead of just looking at one part, trying to explain, oh, why are Hungarians so bizarre and strange? Or why do the French speak in so sophisticated ways? And why do I feel this strange? So it explores two sides of the coin and tries to look at the reference frames of the two sides. And let's stop a little bit at this notion of reference frames. So we call reference frames the set of norms, practices, preconceptions, which are the results of our socialization in very different cultural contexts and groups. So these reference frames or norms are constructed from our nationality or religion or social class or education, even our profession or political standpoint or subcultures in which we participate. And together these norms and these practices, these expectations, they constitute a screen through which we are observing the outside world, through which we are evaluating what the outside world is about, and through which, again, we take decisions and we react to the outside world. And these reference frames, in a way, they explain the rationality behind our actions. So they tell us why people behave in certain ways. So the stakes of the research phase in our project was to explore what are these reference frames on all sides, in the children's or the student's side, the teachers and the parents' side, and try to explore, are these reference frames conflicting? What are the sources of friction? How can we understand them? So what we did concretely is that we made interviews. Approximately, we gathered 80 concrete critical incidents, so such little stories. And we got these stories from, again, parents, students, teachers in all the 5 countries who participated in the workshop, in the project, that is France, Italy, Hungary, Poland, and Spain. What did we get from these incidents? Well, we discovered that the factors of early school leaving, they are, in fact, a mixture of factors that we can observe at different levels, at individual level, social level, relational level, and also institutional level. We have also observed that all these factors, in all of them, we find the presence of cultural representations, cultural norms and practices. And that these factors, they go to the very core of what school is. What does it serve? Who is it for? The very essence of why schools exist. And that's what we are going to look together very briefly.
So we would like to propose you a little game. Please find the person that you don't know behind you or in front of you, and make this exercise to go back to school, to those days, and try to find something that you didn't like it so much, and that you might have the chance to change. What will that be for you? So you have 1 minute to exchange with a partner in front or behind of you. Those who said that they would like to change something about the rules of the school, can you please stand up? Something about the rules. How many of you wanted to change something about the rules? Please stand up. Take a look around and sit back. Thank you. How many of you wanted to change something regarding the pedagogy, the way the teachers teach of the school? Please stand up. Thank you. How many of you question something about the physical environment, like the chairs, the way we sit at school, the classrooms? Thank you. And then what about the evaluation system? Did you thought about that maybe? Yes, please stand up. Thank you. About social relations, like maybe how the way you were treated at school or the way you treat others at school. Don't be shy. Thank you. And how many of you did you question the meaning of why going to school?
Be honest. We're trying.
Thank you. So these were the factors that we're looking for in our research. And
let's pick up with this last one, meaning. So as we were analyzing the critical incidents, we have discovered that parts of and I have to say that these interviews, they were not done with just any students in all the countries, but in some countries we focused on students who were at the risk, let's say, so who had a chance of leaving school. Okay, so this is not a total average representative of the schools. So one of the things that we've discovered is that there is a genuine mistrust about the aim and the usefulness of school. And the striking example for us was when we did our forum session in a school with 12 years old, and they were invited to represent what their idea is of the worst class ever. And they were really good. They represented jumping around, listening to music, nobody caring about the professor. And then they were also asked about, okay, now make a scene of the best class, the ideal class you can imagine. And it was strange, they were in trouble. They didn't know what to do, so they tried to play what they expected us, the adults and the teachers, imagine that this is the good class. Everybody standing still or sitting still silently in very passive silence. And we tried to push them, okay, but is this really what you want? Is this the ideal? And in fact, what we discovered that there was no genuine ideal for them. They had no positive image of what an ideal school should be. I brought you one critical incident that illustrates this same phenomenon. Okay? So when we talk about critical incidents, we talk about stories like this one. So very quickly I'm going to read it to you. This incident comes from a student, literature teacher from Italy. Here we go. I called the parents of the student who has the worst grades and is accumulating absences. To my surprise, the parents say they know the situation and they explain that their son is really strongly engaged in sport activities. He's also following a specific diet to improve his performance in sports. As to the school, it is not so interesting. It does not give any future. In any case, the son will soon become a successful football player. He will be able to help the family and they'll be living in luxury. They say, today, it is much more likely to have fortune as a football player while studying. There are millions of graduates who work in call centers, millions of precarious teachers. What's the point? So, this is an example of a critical incident. And we use these stories to dig into them and to uncover What is the rationality behind saying this? And what is, again, the rationality of the teachers, which may be different? And here we go. What is the aim of the school? Why do we go to school? For teachers, it is an evidence. It is an obligation. This is not something we question. This is as it should be. And we are used to this. But what is interesting is that for the students and the parents, there is no evidence at all. This school itself is not a priority. What does school serve? Does it serve something? Does it guarantee for me to get jobs? If not, it's okay to not go. So there is a big difference between the way teachers and also parents and students evaluate the meaning. And this meaning is not clear at all. Another factor concerns something else.
So we try to look for which were the representation about students. What is a good student, for example, for the teachers? So we read all their critical incidents, and we find out that for teachers, a good student is someone that doesn't move. You are all very good students now, that doesn't do any noise also. And if they do noise and they move, maybe they don't pay attention, and it's something that is not respectful to them, so they don't respect the authority of the teacher in class. Also, the rules for them are not negotiable. This is the way the school is, and we cannot change anything, so they have to accept it. They also, if you break some of these rules, there is some kind of punishment. It could be the grades, or it could be another thing, but in all the system that we have a punishment for this. And also with some of the students that are not the ideal student to them, so problem students, is not because of the system of the school. This is our students that have a lot of problem at home and not other problems. Well, then we ask the same thing to students, like what do they think about school? And that came out the most for them is they're all treated like childs and like children and not as grown-up. Their point of view is not respected for them. This culture of teenagers culture is not integrated into the system also. They find that the rules are too strict and never negotiable. Like we have a lot of incidents when people, some of the students came like 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes late to the entrance, and then they couldn't go into the school. So the student would like to have more voice in their education. And we have, this is a quote from one of the students that said, to abandon school is the only way to have an adult life. Because when you're a teenager, either you go to school, either you go to work. And at least if they go to work, it's somehow becoming an adult and taking responsibilities for them. Then for the parents, the school is something that is very far away from them. It's a place where children go and they don't have anything to say about it. The institution of school is something very powerful that it's very far away from them, and it's impossible to stand up to this. Yeah.
And then some other factors concern discrimination. We found lots of situations when students felt discriminated, in the worst case, violently bullied, physically bullied. Most discrimination cases were not committed by teachers, but in fact by students between them, against each other. And here we try to uncover what is then, again, the coin on the two sides. What do teachers do? Teachers try to intervene, usually as soon as they discover that there is a discrimination situation. Now, the intervention may not always be effective. We have examples when the very good intentioned intervention puts the discriminated child and the discriminated mother on the fourth floor, so that the discrimination becomes even more visible, and then it's an identity threat. And then we've seen also some situations which are about the social organization and the family, that while for the school system, it's obvious that the child has to go to the school, and the parent's role, in fact, is to support the child in this process. Many of the families have a different approach. Family has priority, family rules have priority. And maybe these family rules imply that a girl has to get married and not continue the school. So again, this was one of the last segments along which we found critical incidents. And a little bit to sum up the whole thing, we expected to find factors such as relationship to authority, relationship to knowledge. And the most striking finding for us maybe was that it's more than that. It's really the lack of genuine meaning and motivation that students see in the school, which is the most striking. That they make kind of a rational evaluation, and the result that it's not worth to go to school. So I think it really gives us the challenge to see how we can work against this representation. Thank you very much.